In the 1930s, dozens of men vanished from the MacMillan Estate, a mining empire owned by one of the wealthiest families in the region. At first, the disappearances were dismissed as accidents. Mining is dangerous after all. But then came the rumours and eventually the bodies. Today, we're reopening the file on Evan MacMillan, the heir to the estate, the enforcer of his father's will, and the man who would later become known only as the Trapper. The MacMillans were not just landowners, they were industrial royalty. Their ironworks dominated the Washington state for generations, producing steel, weapons, rail components. But with power comes fear. Locals spoke in hushed tones about the family's cruelty, their ruthlessness, and their secrets buried beneath the mines. Evan MacMillan was born into this empire as the only son and successor. From childhood, he was moulded, or maybe broken, by one man, his father, Archibald MacMillan. Archie was a hard man, the kind that thought fear was the same thing as respect. Workers described him as volatile, violent, and obsessed with loyalty. The workers were not allowed to leave the premises without permission, and anyone who didn't obey disappeared. Evan's mother died when he was young. She went out for a swim one day and never came back. Some say this was just an unfortunate accident, others say that she was yet another obstacle in Archie's way. There were also rumours about Evan's uncle being murdered by Archie. Archie was obsessed with hunting bears, and apparently when he and his brother were younger, they ran into a grizzly bear. The bear killed Evan's uncle. Archie would kill said bear with a knife, and then retrieve the mutilated corpse of his brother to bring it back to the family estate. Again, no one knows if this is true, and some people think that Archie killed his brother and used the story to cover it up. So as you can see, Archie was a nasty piece of work, and Evan grew up in a world where love had rules. Be strong, don't ask questions, and do what you're told. When Evan was younger, Evan loved to sketch. Some of the workers had even become friends with Evan and saw his drawings, claiming that he was a good artist, but his father would never allow him to pursue his dream. This was Evan's way of defying his father. Drawing behind his back without his father knowing gave him a sense of empowerment over his life. Over the years, Archie would take Evan into the mines and teach him how to manage the workers. Evan's mind was warped into a more and more violent state. One year, he even lost his cool on a man who said something about his mother and almost beat the man to death with a 2x4 while his father watched and laughed. His hatred and defiance for his father became more and more like love and admiration for the man over the years, and he became the perfect enforcer for his father's rules. One day, the workers at the mine had had enough. They began organizing not a strike, but an uprising. They wanted their dignity, their freedom, their time with family and friends back, and Archie was not too happy about this. He saw it as treason, and he commanded Evan to deal with it. This command would lead to one of the most horrific mass killings in the estate's history. So, remember when I said that Evan loved to sketch, and some of the workers knew about it? Well, when Archie found out about the coup, he told Evan that his friends had sold him out about his drawings for a few dollars, and this made Evan snap. The last bit of humanity in him, the loyalty of his friends, was destroyed, and all he felt now was hatred. Witnesses described seeing Evan lead groups of miners into the lower tunnels, promising negotiations. What happened next was not negotiation, it was slaughter. Explosives were placed, exits sealed. When the charges went off, the tunnels collapsed, with dozens, possibly over 100 workers still inside. Rescuers arrived days later. They found crushed helmets, claw marks on the walls, and signs that many miners had survived the initial blast only to suffocate in the dark. Archie denied everything, Evan said nothing, and the MacMillan lawyers buried the case. A few days later, they found Archibald MacMillan's body in the basement of the warehouse, starved and abandoned, and Evan missing. Nobody really knows who locked Archibald in the basement. Could it have been a relative or a friend of one of the workers? Could it have been Evan who found out the truth about his friends? Nobody knows. Officially, Evan MacMillan is presumed dead, crushed, buried, or lost forever inside the mine shafts. But unofficially, people believe something else happened. Search teams reported claw marks too large to match human hands on the walls of the abandoned tunnels. So, was Evan MacMillan a victim of abuse, molded into a monster by his father? Or was he always destined to become a killer? And perhaps the most haunting question of it all is, did he die in those tunnels? Or did something take him? This file remains open, cold, incomplete, and deeply disturbing. If you want more case files on the Dead by Daylight's killers, survivors, or entity-related incidents, subscribe and let me know who I should investigate next. For now, stay out of the mines. You never know what's waiting in the dark.